King's Dominion is an absolute mess right now. Laying off employees, canceling Winterfest. Honestly, I'm a little worried to see what might come next. This is a very interesting situation for King's Dominion, and there's a whole lot to discuss about this, so let's get started. So this whole situation really started when a couple of days ago, King's Dominion suddenly announced they would be laying off a lot of employees. And we're not just talking a few layoffs, like a couple people or whatever. We're talking maybe up to 80 full-time staff members, which is a lot of people in one round of layoffs. Now, I do want us to remember that the goal of this whole Six Flags merger that happened a couple months ago was for the chain to save money, because both Cedar Fair and Six Flags are in a lot of debt right now. We're talking billions upon billions of dollars. And the unfortunate thing when a company is trying to get out of debt, sometimes layoffs are going to happen. We see it all the time in, for example, the tech industry. The company grows a lot, but they then take on some debt, and then a lot of employees unfortunately do get laid off. It really is, as I said, just an unfortunate part of businesses today. And as annoying and frustrating as it can be, there was likely going to be some layoffs with the Six Flags merger, whether we wanted it or not. I just didn't really expect it to be King's Dominion of all parks, and for it to be almost 80 staff members. Like, that is a lot of full-time staff, especially for a theme park, just getting laid off in one round. And what honestly worries me the most about this is if Cedar Fair / Six Flags, whatever you want to call it, if they're willing to lay off 80 employees from King's Dominion, that really concerns me about what King's Dominion's place in this new Six Flags chain is going to be. Now, when they announced Rapterra, I had some hope that maybe King's Dominion would be able to kind of work their way up in the chain and become a higher tier park. Because in the old Cedar Fair chain, they definitely sat very towards the middle. Like, they're definitely getting a couple additions here or there. They're not going like 8 years without a coaster like a Dorney Park or whatever. They're not receiving the same level of investment as Cedar Point or Kings Island. And you know, they just opened up a new coaster and everything, and things were looking pretty good for King's Dominion with the new Six Flags merge and everything. You know, I was hoping that they could move up in the chain because I really enjoy visiting King's Dominion a lot. Like, when I visited there, I believe it was last summer, I honestly had a blast. You know, it kind of reminded me of my home park of Kings Island a little bit, but it also had a nice different vibe to also separate it too. And their coaster collection is honestly not that bad whatsoever. I-305, Twisted Timbers, I even really like Dominator too. So just taking that into account, having a good atmosphere, some decent food too, and a good coaster collection, you would think that this park should be relatively high in the chain. However, as I mentioned, it's always sat really in the middle, and I think there's two main reasons for that. A is their market. They're mostly serving like the Richmond, Virginia area, and all the other cities in Virginia and everything, and while it's a fairly big market, the Cedar Fair or Six Flags or whatever can definitely do a little bit better market-wise for their parks. I'm not saying it's a super small market or anything. Like, for example, Michigan's Adventure has a very small market for a theme park. Again, this has always been a sort of middle-of-the-ground market for an amusement park. And I think that's partly why King's Dominion's investment has been a little bit hindered per se these last couple of years. And obviously you have Busch Gardens Williamsburg, but I think what's really kind of prevented King's Dominion from getting really any major investment since the early 2000s or whatever has been the failure of I-305. We all know I-305 did not exactly go over spectacularly for Cedar Fair. It was really honestly just a too intense coaster for the general theme park visitor to enjoy. And it really just did not perform well enough for King's Dominion. And you know, those executives probably took a look at how I-305 was performing at King's Dominion and decided it might not just be worth investing heavily into King's Dominion anymore. Again, is pretty unfortunate, but as I always say, theme parks are trying to make money. Sometimes part of making money is choosing not to invest in a park, no matter how disappointing it could be to us enthusiasts. Now, laying off a bunch of employees isn't great, but there's even more. Because King's Dominion just announced that they will be canceling Winterfest next year. But before we get to that, if you are enjoying the video and want to stay updated on all the latest theme park news, then make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out. Yeah, I did not see this coming whatsoever. So if you don't know the history of Winterfest for the Cedar Fair parks in general, it's been kind of come and go. The Paramount Parks introduced it, Cedar Fair took over, canceled it for a while, but then ended up bringing it back. And I think in general, it's been a pretty good success. Especially at my home park, Kings Island, where it seems that Winterfest is always jam-packed every single night, with huge crowds no matter when you go. Now, I cannot really speak on Kings Dominion's Winterfest, just like crowd levels and stuff, but it kind of surprises me that Kings Dominion's Winterfest would be underperforming, if that is even the case. But then again, when I think about it, I don't really know why else they'd cancel Winterfest. I mean, maybe staffing issues, but I doubt it. Maybe, like, not enough to do, but then again, I don't really know. I feel like the only logical reason why Kings Dominion would cancel Winterfest is if it was underperforming. Now, if Kings Dominion's Winterfest is underperforming, I think there are a couple reasons to this. Could be most likely Busch Gardens Williams, because Busch Gardens Williamsburg does have a winter event, and it could be taking a significant amount of crowds away from Kings Dominion. And I don't really feel like there should be much of a reason that Winterfest at Kings Dominion should be underperforming. I mean, it's like peak holiday season, people are traveling to visit families. Like, this should in theory do well. It gives something for the whole family to do during Christmas time. Like, I really think this Winterfest should be doing good. But for whatever reason, it just might not be. Anyways, this is really disappointing for Kings Dominion. We're getting a staffing cut, we're losing Winterfest. I think this really goes to show that Six Flags is not going to be prioritizing Kings Dominion, which is something I really hoped would have happened. And I have to say, this really worries me if they're willing to do this to a fairly mid-tier park of Kings Dominion, which still draws in pretty good crowds and everything. If they're willing to do this to Kings Dominion, what about Michigan's Adventure, Valley Fair, Dorney Park, Six Flags Darien Lake? Like, what about these smaller parks? Fairly worried about the future. And look, I get it, Six Flags really needs to save some money here. But was taking away Winterfest really the best option? I don't really know. I really hope Kings Dominion maybe, just maybe, changes their mind on this issue. And decides to hopefully bring back Winterfest. Now, this whole situation is pretty unfortunate. But to maybe lighten the mood a little bit, Six Flags recently announced every single roller coaster they would be adding in 2026, which is something that literally never happens. It's honestly pretty crazy. There's a ton of good info about what we can expect for these upcoming coasters. So if you want to check that out, click on the video on your screen right now, because it's really, really interesting. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like down below, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future coaster content coming your way. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one.